In this video, we'll understand the heart of GPT using a fun metaphor, potions, tags, and alchemists. If terms like query, key, and value sound confusing, don't worry. We'll decode them step by step without maths, heavy language, and we'll pause for short quizzes so you can check your understanding as we go. At the highest level, GPT does one job extremely well. Given some text, it predicts what word should come next. That sounds simple, but when repeated again and again, it can produce very coherent sentences and even long answers. Under the hood, GPT is built on the transformer architecture, and the most important mechanism inside it is attention. So if we understand attention well, we understand a big part of how GPT works. Let's use the sentence. Sarah lies still on the bed feeling blank. A very reasonable next word is tired. But why does GPT lean toward that answer? It is not just memorizing the sentence. It is looking at the words already present, understanding how they relate, and then building a probability over possible next words. In this video, we'll unpack that process using a story-like analogy. Here comes the main metaphor. Every word carries three things. First, a value, which we imagine as a portion containing rich information about the word. Second, a query, which is like an alchemist's recipe describing what kind of information this word is looking for. Third, a key, which is like a tag attached to the portion, saying what kind of information that word can offer. Attention happens when a word's recipe checks other words' tags and decides whose portions are useful. Take the word lies. It can mean telling falsehoods, or it can mean resting on a surface. So its raw portion may contain hints of both meanings. On its own, that is ambiguous. GPT needs context from nearby words to decide which meaning matters here. That is exactly what attention helps with. It lets each word gather context from other relevant words in the sentence. Now that we've covered portion basics, let's test what we've learned so far. Here's quiz number 1. See if you can get it right. Question 1. In the metaphor, what does the value represent? The correct answer is the portion. Value is compared to the portion because it carries the rich information associated with a word. Question 2. Why does the word lies need context? The correct answer is, it has multiple possible meanings. The word lies could refer to dishonesty or resting, so context is needed to disambiguate it. Question 3. What is the query in the metaphor? The correct answer is an alchemist's recipe. Query is the recipe that tells a word what kind of information it should look for in other words. Now let's focus on the word lies. Its alchemist looks across the sentence and checks other words, tags. The word bed has a tag related to a flat resting surface, so that looks relevant. The word still may suggest resting or being motionless, so that also helps. Words like on or the are less useful for resolving this particular meaning, so they contribute little. The word lies even checks itself too. At the end, the flask for lies becomes a weighted mix of useful portions from relevant words. After attention, the new mixture for lies is no longer the same as the original raw portion. Earlier, it carried both dishonesty and resting signals. But after mixing in helpful context from bed and still, the resting interpretation becomes much stronger. Dishonesty does not disappear completely in the metaphor, but it becomes much less important. So attention is basically the collecting step. Gather the right contextual clues and combine them. A few subtle points are worth noting. Query and key must be compatible, so they can be matched properly. The model can do these matches very fast and in parallel, which is one reason transformers are so powerful. Also, the mixing weights are normalized, so the flask is always fully distributed across the chosen inputs. One more thing. Plain attention by itself does not understand word order. That is why transformers need positional information separately. Now that we've covered attention flow, let's test what we've learned so far. Here's quiz number 2. See if you can get it right. Question 1. When the word lies attains to the sentence, which word is especially helpful for the resting meaning? The correct answer is bed. The word bed, strongly supports the interpretation of lies as resting rather than dishonesty. Question 2. What does attention mainly do in this metaphor? The correct answer is, it collects and mixes relevant information. Attention is the gathering step where relevant values are combined based on query key matches. Question 3. Why does attention alone need positional help? The correct answer is, because it ignores word order by itself. Without positional encoding, attention treats words as a set rather than a sequence. Attention gives us a context-aware mixture, but it does not deeply process the ingredients yet. That next step is the feed-forward layer. In the metaphor, this is where the alchemist does actual chemistry. Signals like sleepy, restful, and exhausted can reinforce one another, while weaker one-off hints like dishonesty can be reduced. So if attention is collecting, feed-forward is the thinking and transforming step that makes the representation more useful for prediction. Once each word has gone through attention and feed-forward, GPT has richer representations of the whole sentence. Then a final linear layer converts these internal signals into scores over possible next words. After that, softmax turns those scores into probabilities. So the model may assign tired the highest probability, may be followed by sleepy or exhausted. That is how GPT moves from internal understanding to an actual predicted next word. There are two more important ideas. First, masking. In GPT, a word can only attend to earlier words, not future ones. That is how next word prediction stays fair. Second, multi-head attention. Instead of having just one alchemist, GPT uses many attention heads. One head may focus on syntax, another on sentiment, another on long-range relationships. Their outputs are then combined, giving the model multiple ways to interpret the same context. Now that we've covered final pipeline, let's test what we've learned so far.
Here's quiz number 3. See if you can get it right.
Question 1. What is the main role of the feed-forward layer in this explanation? The correct answer is, to transform the mixed information into richer features. Feed-forward is the processing stage where the collected context is transformed into more useful internal meaning. Question 2. What does softmax do near the end of the pipeline? The correct answer is, it converts the scores into probabilities. After the linear layer creates scores for candidate words, softmax turns them into a probability distribution. Question 3. Why is multi-head attention useful? The correct answer is, it allows different heads to focus on different patterns. Different heads can specialize in different relationships, and combining them gives a richer understanding. If this portion metaphor made query key and value finally click, then mission accomplished. The math can come later, but the intuition is what helps you really remember it. In the next lesson, you could explore positional encoding, masking in more detail, or how decoder blocks stack again and again inside GPT.